All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the South County EDC's 26th Annual Economic Summit. I am Port Commissioner Dookie Valderrama, and on behalf of the Port of San Diego and South County EDC and our sponsors, it is my distinct honor to welcome you this afternoon. Earlier in the morning, we had a great session filled with insight, information about our economy from Dr. Leonard Reisner, Ryan Majors, Eric Buvold, and Rhonda Rochel. We also heard from Deborah ZK about the Binational Health Bill, the Golden Door, and Did you hear her presentation? This was a 94-year-old woman, the only person of all the speakers this morning that got a standing ovation. She came up and had a speech prepared and says, I've never seen such a diverse crowd, because normally when she makes a presentation strictly to men. She says, it's an honor for me to be able to see so many men, women, young kids, and the diversity that I've seen here today. And she just threw away her speech and spoke from her heart. And that lady was so dynamic, and I said at the very end, I hope in her 94 years of age that I have her intellect and the stamina that she had. What an amazing presentation this morning. We heard from Mayor Falco and other elected officials from both sides of the border, providing insight into the economic opportunities within our national region. If you're looking to grow your business, please call the South County EDC. There are incentives and assistance waiting for you. Every time I get the opportunity to represent the South County EDC, I always say that
Thank you. What a great crowd. Thank you so much all for being here. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Clarissa Reyes Falcon with Falcon Strategy, serving as this year's chair of the South County Economic Development Council. We are able to bring you this summit because of the generosity of our sponsors. I want to take this opportunity to thank our title sponsor, SDG&E, and our gold sponsors, the Port of San Diego, thank you, Dookie, and the County of San Diego, the cities of San Diego and Chula Vista, as well as Southwest Airlines and the South County Career Center. Thank you. We also have our silver and award sponsors. Our thanks to Scripps Health for being our bag sponsor today. In addition to Chula Vista and San Diego, who are our gold sponsors, we want to thank our other South County cities, including Coronado, Imperial Beach, and Nashville City for their support. Additionally, we want to express our gratitude to Point Loma Nazarene University for being our registration sponsor, as well as to our silver sponsors, TruckNet LLC, San Diego International Airport, 7 Mile Casino, San Diego County Water Authority, Turner Construction, Rick Engineering, and the Meridian Group. We also want to thank our media sponsors, Radio Latino, San Diego Union Tribune, San Diego Business Journal, Energy Communications, the Star News, KSDY Channel 50, and the Filipino Press. And finally, we appreciate each and every one of our table hosts and to each one of you for attending today's event. Let's give them all and all of you a big round of applause. Turning it back to Dookie.
To put on an event like this, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of money. And so at this time, I'd like to ask our award sponsors and our award winners of this morning so we can acknowledge them as a group. These awards were presented to them during the morning sessions. And please hold your applause until all winners are announced. SDG&E presented the Regional Leadership Award to Monica Montaño. The Binational Award was sponsored by the City of Imperial Beach and presented to the Cross-Border Express Terminal. U.S. Bank sponsored the Outstanding Corporate Citizen Award, which was presented to Dr. Hamid Mani. The Corky McMillan Best of South County Award, which since its inception has been sponsored by the Corky McMillan Company, was presented to Norma Hernandez. MAC sponsored the Pioneer Award, which was presented to Chula Vista Elementary School District and Qualcomm. And the Marilyn Lastman Golden Dedication Award, Lifetime Achievement Award, sponsored by Southwest Airlines, was awarded to County Supervisor Greg Cox and my mayor, Ron Morrison. Let's give them all a big round of applause for their well-deserved awards. Back to Claudia. Sorry, I said Claudia.
It's all good. She's right in front of you, that's why. I'm flattered, actually. I want to take a moment and acknowledge the students from High Tech High School in Chula Vista and the Chula Vista Learning Charter School, who were actually supposed to be on vacation today. So thank you so much for being here. The fact that you are here today makes our future look even brighter. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce our title sponsor, represented by my friend Pedro Villegas with SDG&E. SDG&E supports many organizations throughout the county, especially South County. We are privileged and grateful to have them involved with South County EDC. Thank you again, Pedro and SDG&E, for generously being the title sponsor of today's event, and thank you for introducing our keynote speakers.
How's everybody doing? Yeah? You sure? That was very unconvincing. How's everybody doing? All right, that's great. You know why? Because we're about to hear some really extraordinary people that are going to give our keynotes today. You know, for SDG&E, we're a longtime supporter of the South County EDC. We love this event, by the way, and are real pleased to be able to come up and introduce the keynote speakers. You know, anybody who's been here for a while, you know that this is a region that is transforming before our eyes. The South County is a region that's growing and it's prospering. And for the 4,300 employees of SDG&E, it's a real privilege to be able to power this region. For us, whether it's Serge Dedina, the mayor and his city council that are trying to build, a few boutique hotels, whether it's us moving a substation, the South Bay substation, to make way for the Bayfront master plan and all the development that will come to our beautiful Bayfront, whether it's providing power and leading the way in the nation with 35% of your power coming from renewables, without any assistance from any coal resources. We're pleased to serve you, and we thank you for being a customer of ours. We continue to innovate because we know that that's how you get to the future. And behind me, there's a banner for the Power Your Drive program. So it's just one example of our innovation. So for example, we want to build a lot of electric vehicle car charging stations so that you can drive zero emissions wherever you need to go. We're investing in a grid that can be resilient 24/7 as we put more and more intermittent resources onto that grid, more and more renewable power onto that grid. And so you won't skip a beat. You'll still get power just like you do today. And we're building some battery storage, the utility scale. What that means is that we'll be able to keep your lights on at 6 o'clock when the sun goes away by using a minimum natural gas that is necessary. But you know, us in our industry at SDG&E, we are not alone. There are many others that innovate in their industries, and they take us to a brighter future as well. And today, our two speakers from the organizations that I'm privileged to introduce to you are emblematic of that change. Show of hands, how many of you have ever gotten on a Southwest Airlines flight? That's what I'm talking about. This, ladies and gentlemen, did not happen by accident. It happened by design. Southwest Airlines started in 1967, and it went on to basically blow up the box of what we thought airlines were in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. And instead, they invented a different model for an airline, a model that made it much more possible for millions of people to access traveling by air. So with that, it's my pleasure to tell you a little bit about Leah Kuntz, who's here from Southwest Airlines. She is the Vice President Controller for Southwest Airlines. She's worked there since 1993. She started as a revenue accounting analyst. She went on to do pretty much everything else in that airline. Cargo accounting manager, passenger revenue accounting manager, general accounting manager, director of financial accounting, and assistant controller. And today, as the vice president, she's responsible for all accounting, reporting, controls, and payroll. Basically, her job is to follow the company's money, and she does it really well. So without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce to you the pride of the University of Texas at Arlington, Leah Kuntz.
Thank you, Pedro. It is my pleasure to be here today, and thanks to the South County EDC for having me, and of course, thanks to all of you South County EDC members who continuously give your time and talent to better the South County. I am so excited today to be here talking about two of my very favorite things, Southwest Airlines and San Diego. Over the last couple of years, I have spent quite a bit of time here in San Diego. I've talked to many of you, and once everyone finds out I work for Southwest Airlines, there's two topics that always come up in the conversation. The first is the importance of travel and tourism to the area, and then the second is corporate citizenship. So today, let's see if this works. I'm here today to show you how Southwest Airlines connects people to San Diego, not only through transportation services, but also through meaningful investment in your community. So earlier this year, I was very privileged to be a participant in Lead San Diego's Influence program. And as part of that program, we were reminded that San Diego is a top 5 destination for domestic tourism. And I also heard a catchphrase over that 3 days that really resonated with me, and it's just the heart of who we are here in San Diego, and that phrase was community before self. So today, I'm going to give you a little bit of history about Southwest Airlines and our culture. which will highlight why Southwest and San Diego are such good partners and a good fit for this community. And I'm also going to talk to you about the importance of California and San Diego and show you how we are bringing people into your region to support your tourism objective. So before I get started, here's just a little bit of history, a little bit to expand on what Pedro said about Southwest Airlines. So you might have heard one of our taglines, which is, "We give America the freedom to fly." But interestingly enough, Southwest did not start out on a quest to change aviation. We actually started out as a quest for legal advice. So as the story goes, back in 1966, a gentleman by the name of Rollin King went to visit his attorney. And Rollin was a businessman. He was an avid pilot, a graduate of Harvard Business School, and he was trying to get rid of a small commuter airline in Texas that was serving small cities in Texas, and it just really wasn't working very well. So he went to visit his attorney, who was a guy by the name of Herb Kelleher, and he told Herb, he said, "You know, Herb, I think I want to try something new. I'd like to try serving bigger cities in Texas." Now, Herb did not know very much about airlines, but he did know a whole lot about wild turkey. So he said, "Rollin, you know what, let's go head down to the bar, and let's see if your idea still makes any sense after that." So they headed down to a club in San Antonio called St. Anthony's Club to discuss the idea. Now, back then, intrastate airlines really weren't very successful. And with there was two out in California that were doing well, but everywhere else around the country, they weren't doing so well. But Texas had one thing going for it at the time. The economy was booming. So as those two gentlemen sat down over their wild turkey, Rollin introduced a concept. We call it the Texas Triangle today. And on the back of a cocktail napkin, he drew out the idea. Let's just serve the big cities in Texas, Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. And Herb looked at him and said, "Rollin, you're crazy. Let's do it." So that's how we got started. This was back in 1966. We had 5 years of serious legal battles against behemoths back then, the Braniffs and the Continentals. But we did finally earn the right to fly. But as you can imagine, after 5 years of legal battles, we were broke. We had $142 in the bank. We didn't have any people. We didn't have any planes. So we went out and we hired some aviation experts to come in and help us raise some money. We hired a few pilots, and as luck would have it, Boeing had 3 737-200 aircraft that they hadn't been able to sell because the country was in a little bit of a recession. So we got lucky, and that's how we got started with less than 200 employees. And the thing about those employees, you got to imagine, that was scary. So those folks had a real sense of adventure, and they were scrappy. They, like Herb, knew we had to fight to stay alive, and we had to do something different to differentiate ourselves from the industry. So that's how our warrior spirit really got started back then. And today, 45 years later, we are the largest domestic carrier in terms of daily departures and customers carried. We have over 3,900 flights a day, serving just under 100 U.S. destinations and 7 near international countries. And we provide stellar customer service to more than 100 million customers per year. But even though we've gotten bigger, our fundamental concept remains the same. Flying should not be an ordeal. It shouldn't be something that you just have to tolerate, but it should be something that you enjoy and something that's fun for you, and it should be fun for our employees as well. Now then, my parents used to send me to my grandparents' house for a couple of weeks every summer, and my granny had a quote. She said, "Leah, getting old ain't for sissies." And I'll tell you, after being in this industry for 23 years, being in the airline industry ain't for sissies either. It is a really, really tough business. But in our young 45 years, we've grown from less than 200 employees to just under 50,000. We've gone from just flying 3 aircraft to about 700. For this year, for the 22nd year in a row, we made Fortune's list of world's most admired companies. And we've done that, this is also our 43rd consecutive year of profitability. We've done that without ever declaring bankruptcy and without ever furloughing an employee, which is absolutely unheard of in this industry. So, how have we done it? We have got a really simple formula. We start with our employees. They are at the core of what we do, and we figure if we make our employees happy, they're going to make you, the customers, happy, and in turn, that comes back around to our shareholders, and it really works. But I'll tell you, our employees, thank you for those of you who have flown us, and you know it, our employees are one of a kind. They genuinely care about our customers, and that just cannot be emulated by our competition. So, since we believe our employees are the secret sauce, we actually hire pretty tough at Southwest Airlines. In 2015, we received about 373,000 resumes, and we hired 7,400 new employees, which is about 2% of the folks that came through. It's not unusual for our people department to interview more than 100 people just to fill one position. And we spend an inordinate amount of time recruiting, but it's for a reason. It's because we're looking for a certain attitude, and it's not just any attitude. It's actually part of our core values, and we call it living the Southwest way. And we actually, this is part of our performance appraisals for those who are employees here at Southwest. We actually get graded on this every year. But what we're looking for is folks that have what we call a servant's heart. And we live by the golden rule. We treat people like we want to be treated. So we're looking for folks that are actually really genuinely interested in serving customers. We're looking for folks that have a warrior spirit. As I mentioned, it was hard for us to get started, and we've got a scrappy bunch of employees, and we know it's a tough business, and we still have to fight to stay alive. And of course, we're looking for folks that have a fun-loving attitude. And that doesn't mean we don't take the business serious, because we take it very serious, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. But then once we find folks that fit those characteristics, we bring them in and we kind of turn them loose and let them do their thing. So what I want to do next is show you, I've got 3 videos to show you that will hopefully hit the point home. This will just demonstrate our purpose and our fun-loving attitude and our servant's heart. So with this first video, this is one of our customers, Moya. And she was an A-list customer, and she was very worried about losing her status once she found out that she had cancer. And she called to talk to a customer relations representative in Dallas, and here's her story. I hope.
In January, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And, you know, my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my A-list status because I'm not allowed to travel now. I wrote an email, and it just said, you know what, I got cancer earlier this year, I can't travel, I'm going to lose my A-list status. Is there any way possible that you would be able to allow me to keep my status? I promise you I'll make it up next year.
Kind of really related to it and hit me kind of to my core. Wanted to see what we could do.
I want to go ahead and take care of all 3 of the reservations. The most important part here is for you to get better. So do give us a call here towards the end of the year, okay? Thanks so much and have a great day.
I listen to that voicemail a lot, and I hear what he says, but I don't actually hear it until the very end when he says, you know, the most important thing is that you get better.
We're going to be going up to St. Louis tomorrow to surprise her.
Hi. Hi.
I'm Brandon from Southwest.
Oh,
Hi. How are you?
oh my God.
I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty moved by everything you said. I've been sitting over here for the entire interview, but I was given an opportunity to come and surprise you today and let you know we got something here for you for 2015.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you
You're
so
very welcome.
much.
You're so welcome.
Oh my God.
Didn't know it was a big part of your training videos.
Oh my God. I wondered why you kept asking me so many questions about him. Oh, all you had to do was talk. I recognized your voice.
We can sit down here.
Thank
This is not
you.
something that this is something that we want to do for you because we know again that you've been through so much, and you would have made this had you not had this happen. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh my gosh. I'm calling Ellen.
I love that story. We'd actually tricked her. We'd asked her to be part of a training video because she'd been on the phone with our customer relations department and got her to, she was really talking about training and had surprised her with Brandon sitting there in the corner. So the next one, I love this too. This kind of shows you, people travel for all kinds of reasons, but it's really what happens in between A to B that makes a difference. So here's another one.
I was scared and I didn't look so great. I was pretty weak.
I just sort of locked in on her, and I noticed in her reservation she was going in for open heart surgery.
I walk into the airport and the first person I see looks at me like an angel, like you're gonna be okay. And she told me everything was gonna be all right, and I needed to hear that right then. And I was 2,000 miles away from my family, and it doesn't stop there because Darvina actually took the time to call around and find which hospital I was at. So she called and talked to my family while they were in the waiting room while I was actually going through my surgery. So one of the first things I remember in the recovery room was my mom saying, Katie, we just talked with your friend Darvina from Southwest, and she called to make sure that everything came out all right because she told you it was going to be. She made me feel special, and she made me feel like I was the only passenger in the airport that day, and that she really did care what was going to happen to me after I left the kiosk. She really did care that I did turn out okay.
It's such a pleasure working for Southwest, and it's, like I told one of my friends, it's somebody like Katie that then makes all the difference.
I've seen that 100 times and it gets me every time. I can't look at Lydia. I know that one gets me. But that's who we hire, folks that just really want to get in there and go that extra step for our customers. Now, to show you a fun one, here's a Herb, not that Herb, but another Herb from the Curb who really enjoys his job.
Big Daddy, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good.
Good, good. I'm Herb from the Curb. Good to meet you, man. Boy, you're a sharp-looking dude. Yeah, good looking.
So are you?
You're a good-looking brother, man. Yeah, he looks good. My name is Herb Watts, nicknamed Herb from the Curb, and I've been with Southwest Airlines for 21 years. Come June, I don't believe in a negative spirit or bad spirit because I don't consume negative. I consume positive. And I see people come up, and if they're happy, I try to enhance it. If they're not happy, I try to give it to them. We love them for choosing us. We want to embrace them and let them know that how much we want to please them and how much we want to provide great service to them. They will return and feel the love. They'll feel it, carry it with them, and always keep us in the back of their mind that, hey, whenever they fly, they want to fly Southwest. Yeah, girl, we had to see everybody smiling because you're going Southwest. I'm with the great airline anyway, and just by that, I like to show it as well. So, it's just showing that, hey, like a lot of people say, hey, you must love your job. Well, I do, and I love people, but then I love the company that I work for. I know I'm with the right airline. Ain't no other airline that's that top Southwest Airlines.
So our employees are united by a common goal. We treat each other like family, and we treat you, our customers, like family. That doesn't mean we always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, and that's for Southwest to be successful. This picture here is showing you, these are some of our San Diego employees, and they were actually signing bag tags on Valentine's Day to say Happy Valentine's Day. Of course, as a love airline, Valentine's Day is huge to us. And so that's a nice little touch. But as important as those external touches are, internal hospitality is just as important to us at Southwest. And we do genuinely care about each other. We actually have a department, it's called our Internal Customer Care Team. They're a team of 6, small but mighty, and they take care of 50,000 employees. They recognize the important events in our life, whether it's birthdays, anniversaries, births, deaths. They really do go that extra mile to recognize our employees. And you might ask, well, why in the world would you do that much for your people? And we really do believe without our people, we're just a building and a bunch of empty airplanes. Or stated differently, without the heart, it's just a machine. Sustaining that kind of culture does take a commitment, though. It requires us to make time to celebrate. And let's face it, we're human, so sometimes you just don't feel like it. But we really do go that extra mile to celebrate milestones, honor achievements, and be there for each other in good times and in bad. And even though we are an airline, you'll remember our purpose is to connect people, and some of our best work is actually done on the ground. And at Southwest, our employees have a huge heart, and it really shows. Nationwide in 2015, our employees volunteered nearly 150,000 hours of time to nonprofit organizations and schools. And our corporate gifts, monetary, in-kind, and ticket donations were over $19 million in 2015. And because we have a love of people and community, we really make the effort to foster genuine partnerships in your community. We have a rich history of helping support causes that help you achieve your missions. Remember, our logo's a heart, and that heart is at our core. So to us, love is a verb. It's an action word. It means you get out there and you do something. So to us, we're not just a business here. We're your neighbor in the community, and this community is important to us. Here in San Diego in 2015, we donated about $800,000 that benefited 127 local nonprofits. Our local employees donated over 1,700 hours of their time volunteering in the community here, and we had 14 pilots participate in an Adopt a Pilot program, which benefited over 600 students in the San Diego region. And because we know how important community service is to you, got a little surprise for you. On behalf of the 50,000 employees at Southwest, we'd like to thank you for making a positive difference in South County for this binational community. So, we would like to present each of you with 10,000 rapid reward points. So after the summit concludes, you can just go back to the registration desk, swing by there, and there's a very short claim form that you'll fill out, and then that will tell them how to get to your points. So thank you for everything you do, and that's our little gift to you. So this is the Herb. This is our founder, Herb, and he is famous for saying the business of business is people. And for Southwest, that's been true for the last 45 years, and I expect that to be true for the next 45 years. No matter how much the world changes, we're going to be a customer service organization. We just happen to fly planes. And we're here to serve you guys in the state of California and in San Diego. So I wanted to take just a couple of minutes to talk about California and San Diego and the importance. We have been proudly serving California since 1982. I kind of gave it away, but can you guess what the first station was in California, the first city that we actually served? San Diego, yes it was. We started service here in January of 1982. The state of California is huge. There's 39.1 million people. It's the nation's largest air travel market with the most daily passengers each way. We offer the most rapid rewards seats than any other carrier in this state. And with 670 flights a day from 10 airports in California, we actually call you guys our best coast. Now, the Southwest has often kidded that we're really a California airline that just happens to be based in Texas, and this shows you that. This chart shows you right here that we carry more passengers and revenue from California than any other carrier. And, oops, there we go. And this chart right here, what this is showing you is that more California customers are actually choosing to fly Southwest Airlines at 7 airports than any other carrier. And we've really focused on growth in the state over time, and our point-to-point model has given us the lead here in California. Now, in San Diego, as you guys know, we operate out of Terminal 1. We offer about 100 peak flights per day out of 11 gates with 463 employees. We average per gate a little over 9 flights a day. If you actually exclude gate 1A, which is the one down there at the end, then we're closer to 10 flights a day. And if you look at our 2 largest markets, which are Chicago Midway and Las Vegas, those average 8 and 9 flights a gate per day. So you can tell, getting close to 10, we are really utilizing that space very well. As you guys know, if you've been there, it is always quite crowded in the airport. Just drilling in here at San Diego, what this chart is showing you, these are the top 10 inbound destinations to San Diego. And what this is showing you is that Southwest is carrying the most passengers into the area than any other carrier. We've got about 53% of the folks that come into San Diego from the top 10 markets are flying on Southwest. The blue bars are everybody else. And if you even expand that beyond the top 10 markets, Southwest Airlines is bringing 39% of the traffic into the San Diego area. Likewise, we also carry the most passengers from San Diego to the rest of California, with about 75% of the folks choosing to fly on Southwest if they're going anywhere else in California. Now, one of the things that you know, of course, we've got high frequency and low fares, but there's a lot more to our product than that. Last year, we introduced a concept, and we kind of coined the phrase transparency. And what that means is our low fares are what they are. There's nothing hidden in there to surprise you. This year, what you're going to see, we're going to show you what transparency feels like, and it's going to help you experience a world full of yes. So as you know, if you travel and you're going somewhere overnight, you might need to carry a bag on board with you, and yes, we're going to let you do that for free. And if you're gone for more than one night, you might need to pack a bag and actually send it. We're going to let you carry that bag on free. And you know what? You can even check a second one if you want to. Why not? That's free too. And you know what? If you've got a question and you need to talk to somebody on the phone, yes, you can call up Southwest Airlines and you can talk to somebody, and they're actually going to be nice to you. And yes, if you've accumulated a lot of Rapid Rewards points and you want to go to one of our 98 destinations, yes, we are going to have Rapid Rewards seats for you to redeem. So that is what yes looks like to us. You'll notice that campaign, it just launched Monday, and if you look closely, there's a couple of our San Diego employees that are in some of our commercials, so keep an eye out. And if you see them, congratulate them, get their autograph. But in closing, the one thing that I really wanted to leave you with today is to remember, in a world full of no, we are a plane full of yes, connecting people here to San Diego through transportation, but not only transportation, also with a genuine love for and investment in your community. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Leah, for making everybody cry. No, really, while she was speaking, I pulled out my phone and I did a little Google research. And that 2% number of the folks that apply to get into Southwest Airlines, just to give you a little point of reference, MIT has an application rate of 7.9%. It's harder to work at Southwest Airlines than it is to go to MIT, just to let you know. And that is their secret sauce to having some of the happiest employees on earth. And when happy employees are happy, they make the customers happy. So thank you very much. Yeah, that's right. So, about a couple of months ago, I was with my extremely lovely wife, Susana Villegas, and our exceptionally talented son, who's 17, Sammy, and we took a little trip up north, and we went to Caltech, and we were checking out, all kinds of stuff at the college, and as you usually do, you go into the bookstore and you buy a shirt or whatever it might be, a cup. And so, but there's a little lobby before you go in, and that lobby has photos. It looks kind of like the beginning of Star Trek, right? It has nebula and all kinds of things that only NASA probes that have left this Earth could take. Think about a minute how NASA has changed how we think about being on this planet over and over and over again. Our next speaker is one of the directors of the 10 regional administrative centers of NASA. You've seen the others on TV, right? Kennedy, that's one of them, Cape Canaveral. And this one in particular is the Armstrong Flight Research Center. Let me tell you a little bit about them. Their mission is really extraordinary, and you read a lot of mission statements, you're like, oh, no, what does that mean, right? This one's pretty good. Quote, to revolutionize aviation and pioneer aerospace technology, validate space exploration concepts. If you don't validate the concept, you're not going to build it to try to do it because you don't know if you can do it, right? And support the operations of the International Space Station. That's very cool. Their vision is, quote, to fly what others only imagine. David McBride from NASA, he's been there since 1982, and he was appointed a director of the Armstrong Flight Center in 2010. He oversees all aspects of management, strategy, and operations at Armstrong. We're about to get our science on here in a minute, ladies and gentlemen. For starters, I'm going to give you a couple of his achievements. He achieved full operational capability of the B-747 Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. Basically, this is a flying astronomy observation on a B-747. You take it up a high altitude and you take all kinds of crazy pictures up into space. Very cool, into the atmosphere. Second, he completed the flight evaluation of the X-48 hybrid wing body. If you have a phone, if you want to Google the X-48, it's a very cool plane. It has a very innovative a wing design, which has actually had a lot of other applications in the aviation industry. It is very, very cool. He transitioned NASA's Global Hawk, it's an unmanned aircraft, into science operation. Why is that important? It's because NASA's Global Hawk is now used in high-altitude, long-duration Earth science missions. Things like checking out what hurricanes are doing, that type of stuff, right? He demonstrated the NASA Orion spacecraft's launch abort system, made sure it worked, make sure it was designed properly. Why is that important? Because that spacecraft is designed to take humans farther into space and back than we have ever been. David is an electrical engineer from the University of New Mexico, and he has an MBA from the University of New Mexico as well. And on behalf of every kid and adult that is fascinated by flight, that wanted to be a pilot or an astronaut, it's my pleasure to welcome David McBride to San Diego, the home of Sally Ride. David.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for that great introduction. And Leah, that's a tough act to follow. Get me crying before I start talking. Thanks a lot. And I don't have a free ride to outer space for you either. So. But I hope our technology makes your Southwest flight in the future a little bit safer. A couple things I want to talk about today are, let's see, how does this work? Talk about the agency. NASA is an agency, what we've been doing, because oftentimes I talk to people, individuals or groups of people, and there's a notion out there that NASA's on the decline, that after the space shuttle was retired, and especially people here in California, it's like an important historical date. Everybody remembers where they were, well, at least up in LA and Sacramento, when they saw the space shuttle fly for the last time on its flight to LAX to be put in the California Science Center. So with that, there's a notion that NASA's on the decline, but I hope my message today turns that around for you and gets you to realize that NASA's not on the decline. NASA is the most vibrant engineering science organization in the entire world. We do more studies and science of the cosmos, of the universe, of the galaxy, of the planets, of spacecraft, of airplanes, of any organization in the world. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about what the agency is doing today, and then bring the focus back to Southern California and what's going on here at my center, and how it impacts San Diego. So, you know, we're not on the decline. We do have a lot of our legacy spacecraft still producing great science. The Hubble Space Telescope is on its 25th year of observing the cosmos, doing some fantastic science like this deep field observation, one of the most significant scientific observations ever done. This picture doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's looking at an empty spot in space and looking at a real time capsule of what the early universe looked like. Being able to look at this is a blank, what we thought was a blank spot of the sky, 1/24 millionth of the entire sky. If you look at it, it's about the size, if you were to put a tennis ball at about 100 yards. That's about how big this image is a spot of the sky. And what we see in there are not stars, but thousands of galaxies. So it shows you the scope and the depth of the universe. Galaxies with light coming back to us over 12 billion light years away. So light coming from about the 1% of the life of the universe. So incredible output there. Great imagery, but it's the real science behind that. We've been in space, a continuous human presence in space now for 16 years with the International Space Station. Incredible capability that today is still doing great science in life science, materials, astrophysics, physics, and it's a huge, one of the most incredible structures mankind has ever built. A spaceship that literally is big as a football field, orbiting the Earth 16 times a day, still going strong, still producing great science. We're on Mars. We're on Mars today with the Curiosity rover. 1,500 days of roving on Mars to date, looking for signs of life, precursors of life on Mars. Incredible output with technology from San Diego. The wheels on this vehicle were machined and made here in San Diego. So San Diego is leaving its footprints on the Martian surface today. Doing great science, looking for, that deserves a round. Looking for signs of water, signs of life on the planet, that one day, and this is the footprint from the moon, one day we'll end up with human footprints on Mars. That is one of the agency's biggest objectives. It seems the work going on there seems quiet, but there's a lot of activity going on in that journey to Mars. And the most significant is building the Orion spacecraft and the Space Launch System, the most capable, far-reaching spacecraft ever built. It's in final assembly around the country with components coming from San Diego and almost probably 30 states all coming together to assemble in Mississippi right now. It'll end up in Kennedy and flying in a couple years. Incredible capability to get us to Mars. Last year, July of 2015, the New Horizons spacecraft, after a 9-year journey to Pluto, brought back these incredible images. It took 9 years to get there with the fastest vehicle, the fastest object mankind's ever built, returning structure and composition and images of Pluto that we never expected to see, that is really rewriting our understanding of the outer solar system. The Juno spacecraft in July of this year reached Jupiter after a 5-year journey to Jupiter. It just completed its first 54 big or long elliptical orbit, and that orbit will be tightening up to about 14 days. It'll be returning some of the most incredible imagery and science on Jupiter, showing us the internal structure of the planet and how the planet formed and evolved, flying in probably the harshest radiation environment we've ever operated in the Pluto close orbit. 2 weeks ago, we launched OSIRIS-REx, the spacecraft going to an asteroid, Bennu. It'll take 2 years to get there. It'll be our first opportunity to actually touch an asteroid, bring back significant samples, study those, try to learn about the composition in the orbit and the structure of asteroids. Why is this important? One, it'll help lead us into that journey to Mars with asteroid redirect mission. It'll teach us how to interact and work with asteroids. Right now, there's the notion with a lot of people that we have that Bruce Willis capability. If we know there's an asteroid with Earth's name on it, that we can go out there and do something about it. The truth is, there is no capability in the Air Force, in NASA, in Russia, in China, nowhere to actually do anything if we knew an asteroid was coming our way. This is our first real opportunity to target an asteroid and actually touch it and do something with it. The James Webb Space Telescope to replace the Hubble. It'll launch in 2 years. Coming together at the Goddard Space Flight Center. Huge telescope, about the size of a tennis court. It'll provide even deeper looks into the structure of the universe. So that's and that's only about half a dozen different things that are going on in NASA. We've got about 1,000 different projects going on in NASA at any one time. Our center is one of 10 NASA field centers, and the output you'll see in the next few charts, we're the smallest of the NASA field centers, so you're looking at about 1% of the total NASA output. There's 3 NASA centers here in California, the Ames Research Center in Silicon Valley, JPL in Pasadena, and our center, the Armstrong Flight Research Center at Edwards Air Force Base. The center was founded September 30th, 1946. So today is our 70th birthday. So we've been doing high-speed, high-performance flight out in the California high desert for 70 years ago today. The first flight, that aircraft was the X-1, the first demonstration of flying faster than the speed of sound. So we operate in the high desert north of Palmdale, California at Edwards Air Force Base. Still the best place in the world to do the type of work we do. For those who remember the Dryden Flight Research Center, we were renamed to the Armstrong Flight Research Center about 4 years ago in honor of Neil Armstrong, who was one of our alumni. Most of us remember Neil is the commander of Apollo 11 and the first man to walk on the moon, but I got to know Neil in my career, and he spoke most fondly, even especially in public settings, about the most significant impact he made to the aerospace community was not going to the moon and being the first man to walk on the moon, but the work he did at now his namesake center as a flight research pilot and the contributions he made to high performance, high speed flight research. An incredible person and somebody we try to emulate his desire to discover. So our vision is to separate the real from the imagined through flight. We've got a long history of one-of-a-kind flights in our past, and we continue to work on one-of-a-kind flights. But now the real exciting things and the real opportunities for the industrial base, your industry, your companies, is the New Aviation Horizons program. The president unveiled this, announced this initiative to really do a kickstart to the American aerospace industry for commercial civil transportation. This is a 10-year initiative, about $10 billion to take the air transportation system in this country and around the world to the next level. We started with high-performance flight, and we continue to study supersonic or high-speed flight phenomena with our high-performance airplanes. We operate F-15s and F-18s to study that high-speed phenomena. Today, we're in the preliminary design phase with Lockheed Martin to build and field this aircraft, which will be the first quiet supersonic aircraft, an aircraft that will reinvigorate and reopen the market for supersonic civil transportation, an aircraft that will be able to fly over land, unlike the Concorde, which flew at high speeds but couldn't fly over land due to the impact of sonic booms. This aircraft, we believe we understand the phenomena and we understand how to make an aircraft fly faster than the speed of sound and mitigate the sonic boom impact to the people on the ground. This will open a whole new market for high-speed civil transport and really open up a whole new market space for flight. That aircraft, the supersonic aircraft, is in preliminary design. Preliminary design wraps up in July of next summer, and it'll go immediately into, we'll select and down select for the production build. We hope to be flying that aircraft in 2 years. This aircraft, this concept, the hybrid wing body concept, this is the shape of the future of flight. One day we hope to see fleets of these aircraft that look something like this with Southwest logos on the side of them. And that's really that's where we'll be selling to Leah. And the real customer is not the Boeings or the air manufacturer. It really is Southwest United American. It is the Air Force. It is that end customer. Aircraft shaped like this, configured like this, would be quiet enough to allow 24-hour operations at Lindbergh Field. Open up a whole new era of transportation with quiet subsonic civil transportation. An aircraft shaped like one of these will reduce emissions and fuel burn by over 50%, less oxides, less pollution into the atmosphere, and less operating cost. An airplane like this will reduce overall operating costs for an airline by about 70%. So this would be a real game changer. An airplane like this is the future of flight. The airplanes we fly today, Boeing 737s and all the way up to the modern 787, those aircraft are really all predecessors and progeny of the 707, which was built in the 1950s, or was designed in the 1950s. This really takes us to the next level, but this is what civil transportation will look like in 20 years, 30 years. And tube and wing aircraft will be a relics for a museum. This really is game-changing technology that the government is investing in to help move the paradigm and change the paradigm of the future of flight. We're also looking at a couple, this is the X-48 that Pedro talked about. We've been flying that to validate the concept. It's a subscale model that would fit on the stage here. The development contract that was, design contract that was let with 4 companies this month, 2 weeks ago, starts that design process and that competition to build. That contract will go for a year, and we'll down select and build one of those models that look like what you saw on their previous page. What we'll build is not a subscale model that'll fit on this stage, but something more in the 737 class aircraft, 100 to 150 passenger configuration. And the concept expands out. It scales very well up to the A380 class, up to like 800 passenger concept. So it's something that really will change the paradigm of flight, economics of flight, and availability of flight. We're looking at a couple other different concepts to help improve the efficiencies. These concepts, the double bubble and the strut brace wing, can be retrofitted onto current configurations and save on the order of maybe 10%, but not the significant savings we'd hope to see in a blended wing body. So for subsonic transport, big change, big deal. We're working on electric airplanes. We're building this today, configuring this vehicle today. It's in final assembly. It'll be flying in this coming spring. This is the first practical electric airplane. Now, we've seen electric airplanes fly with very lightweight structure, very lightweight pilots doing demonstration flights. We've taken that concept to what could be a thin haul airline, something that could really revolutionize regional transportation. The first stage would be to build something like this on a 10 to 12 passenger short haul aircraft. If you look at the number of airports, say from San Diego to Santa Barbara, there's probably 60 little airports that could handle an airport like this, electric powered. Any of you who own a electric car like I do, you realize that is the future of transportation. Quick to charge, very efficient, low maintenance, low cost operations, safe operations. So for me, getting from LA County to here would be a breeze. It would be this will be the regional taxi of the future. That concept scales up to a 100 passenger regional airline type configuration and scales up again to a 737 class aircraft. So for civil transportation, this is the future. This is what we're working on today. This is what we need America's industrial base supporting us and working in. The other big element that the center works on is studying my favorite planet, Earth. And we use our airplanes to do that. If you look at the top of the chart there, Araucana is a Predator MQ-9 aircraft built by General Atomics here in San Diego. It was built in Rancho Bernardo at the time. The MQ-9 was not built as a military product. The MQ-9 was designed and built by General Atomics for NASA as a science platform. Later on, after it flew, that it became a regular part of the Air Force's architecture. We're operating aircraft all over the world, studying weather, climate, atmospheric composition, pollution, cryoscience, looking at the ice in the Arctic and Antarctic. We're operating our airplanes all over the world. This week I have airplanes operating in Namibia, Africa, in Brazil, on the East Coast, studying hurricanes. So we're on it right now. We're studying the planet. The other element we study is geophysics. We're looking at the shape of the Earth. With this airplane and this capability, we're able to fly over a region of the Earth and then precisely fly over the exact same flight path, either hours or months or years later, and look at the difference. You had a big earthquake here in 2010 in northern Boston. We were able to fly that. We mapped the entire ring of fire from Asia all the way down through the tip of South America. And we're able to map and look at the difference in the shape of the Earth on the order of a couple centimeters. And after the Baja earthquake here in San Diego, we saw displacements on the order of 8 inches. So big shifts, and we can measure exactly how and where the tectonic plates shift and how it changes the shape of the Earth from aircraft. And what that'll help us in the future do is continue these surveys, be able to allow us to predict when an earthquake is building up, when a volcano is bulging, ready to blow. So big capability in studying geophysics, Earth, climate,